Madam Speaker, I rise to ask question number 135 of 2015 under my name in today's order paper. And the question is to the Honorable Attorney General, Minister for Finance, Public Enterprises, Public Service and Communication. Can the Minister inform the House as to why we need a National Development Plan and give an update of the National Development Plan consultations? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Attorney General and Minister for Finance, Public Enterprises, Public Service and Communications, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the Honourable Member, Honourable Viam Pillay, for this question. Madam Speaker, a development plan is utterly critical for any country. By having a development plan, in this particular instance, we are looking at short to medium-term goals through a 5-year plan, and of course a long-term plan through a 20-year development plan. It is critical because we as a nation need to know exactly where our development priorities are. As you're aware, Madam Speaker, the Fijian Constitution now has unprecedented rights, in particular socio-economic rights for all Fijians. These rights are justiciable. In other words, members of the public can actually take the government to court, to put in simple terms, to be able to have those rights enforced. These rights include the right to education, free education, economic participation, decent wages, housing, health care, water and electricity, social protection, and a clean environment. Madam Speaker, these socio-economic objectives obviously is applicable to everybody. And you will see that these types of development objectives also highlight and gives us an opportunity to see which pockets of our population are in fact deprived from having greater access to these rights. So these development plans, Madam Speaker, is something that's adopted by many countries. We used to have development plans prior to the first coup in 1987, but of course it was then never put in place thereafter. But now, of course, we are now talking to a number of multilateral agencies. We are talking to development partners. We've spoken to a number of interest groups within Fiji. And what has actually happened, Madam Speaker, if you see in the papers, we put out advertisements that go out in the papers, and these have highlighted that there will be 664 meetings that will be held throughout Fiji. The Central Division will have 216, Western 191, Eastern 108, Northern Division 148 meetings. This is actually going right down to the grassroots. It is very critical, Madam Speaker, to have these meetings because we're hearing directly from ordinary Fijians as to what their development priorities are. What are the everyday issues that affect them? What do they think they would have as a development priority in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? We're not just simply talking about roads, bridges, water and electricity, but also demographic changes within those areas itself. So, for example, Madam Speaker, if you look at the last elections that we had, nearly a third of the voters were below the age of 35 at the very least. Probably a statistic that was lost on the other side of the House. But Madam Speaker, again, we have about 30% of the population that are below the age of 18. So what does this mean, for example, in terms of the health system, the health priorities that the Minister of Education needs to put in place? What does this mean for the education system? Where will Fiji be in 10 years' time? It is predicted that by 2032, our population will be 1 million people. So are we, Madam Speaker, going to be ready for this population outburst? Are we ready for the fact that when we have, for example, the small farmer holdings, the sugarcane industry was built on small farmer holdings and passed on from generation to generation. But many of the younger population, our generation, don't actually want to farm cane anymore. They rather work in the tourism industry. They want to work as teachers and various other professions. What is the impact on the sugarcane industry? There are not many people who want to cut cane anymore. So are we going to introduce more methodologies in terms of techniques, in terms of mechanized farming? These are the types of issues that this development plan will need to address. And this is the type of information that we're trying to eke out from the ordinary Fijians. We, of course, Madam Speaker, will be subsequently holding meetings with various organized civil society groups, NGOs. Of course, NGOs and civil society groups are also coming to these meetings to give their submissions also. This, Madam Speaker, is a apolitical issue. Development for any country must be dealt with an apolitical issue, because everybody must want economic development. Everybody must want economic prosperity. Everybody must want to eradicate poverty. Everybody must want access to amenities that everybody else enjoys. So it must be dealt with in an apolitical manner. We have, Madam Speaker, in terms of an update, as I've said, we've organized 664 meetings. There's already been 301 meetings held in 11 days, Madam Speaker. And as I said, these will be dealt with in a apolitical manner. And we want people to come to these meetings and make contributions that will be beneficial for Fiji, not some sidetracking issue. Madam Speaker, for example, we've noted that the number of sessions in Kandavu have had the highest number of attendance. So, for example, in Kandavu, in all these small villages, etc., the average attendance has been about 75 people per session. And these are considered very large in terms of the small area and the small population of Kandavu. Just by way of a program for the next 2 weeks, Madam Speaker, in the Central Division, from the 6th to the 18th of July, meetings will be held in Tailevu, in Rewa, Naitasiri, and of course we are going out to the Western Division from the 6th to the 21st. Meetings are being held in Nandi, Yasawa Islands, Lotokamba, Tavua. Northern Divisions, they're going up to, up to Bua, Madhuata and Takandrowe from the 8th of July. In the Eastern Division, a team has already left. In fact, the PS Finance has gone off with them. They've gone off to Lau, and they should be there by tomorrow or so. And we have got teams going out to Rotuma from 11th to 13th of July, and the rest of Lomai Viti that will be covered. Some of the issues, Madam Speaker, that have arisen from these consultations, what we do get is when the teams from the Ministry of Finance, ably assisted by the Ministry of Provincial Development and Maritime Development, and also Ministry of Itauke Affairs, when they actually do go out, we get each meeting session to have a record. And in the record, they also then provide feedback to the head office. And these are collated. So far, we've had 143 reports that have been submitted to HQ. And some of the issues that have come out have been to do with, again, access to markets, access to amenities, and also in terms of things like, in some areas we've had complaints saying that some of the research officers, agricultural officers from agriculture, they're saying need to come more because we need more assistance. This is a very, very good feedback for us too. So the Ministry of Agriculture will also know, okay, in this area, we need more of our field workers to be out there to be able to assist them in those specific areas. So, Madam Speaker, we've, of course, embarked on advertising quite extensively, and we've received very, very good feedback on it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary question, the Honourable Biman Prasad.
Supplementary question, Madam Speaker. National planning as a tool has long been discredited as a development strategy for countries around the world. But nonetheless, let me ask the Honourable Minister, the People's Charter for Change had a very comprehensive, Madam Speaker, section on the economy. And there was a very comprehensive report on the state of the economy. Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether we are reinventing the wheel and whether that still forms the basis for the National Development Plan?
Thank you, Honourable Minister and Attorney General.
Madam Speaker,
can we allow the Honourable Minister to answer the question? Excuse me, a question has already been tabled, so we will
Madam
listen to the
Speaker,
response.
the uptricks from the other side are music to my ears. They are music to my ears. And I'll tell you why. They are endorsing the People's Charter. They are endorsing the People's Charter. They are endorsing the People's Charter. Thank you very much. Unaka, Madam Speaker, they are now asking for the People's Charter. These are the very people who wanted to boycott the Charter process. These are the very people. Suddenly we have got chameleons. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, if they, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, in all seriousness.
Order. Can you ask the Honorable Attorney General to continue response to the question?
Madam Speaker, if they actually bothered to read the People's Charter, Madam Speaker, they would find that a number of the recommendations of the People's Charter are in fact in the Constitution. They would note, if they read the Charter, Madam Speaker, that there's a distinction between having a specific detailed development plan that relates to specific areas. The People's Charter sets out the principles and the values under the different sectors within the economy. We are now giving it a lot more flash. So the People's Charter does provide the basis for this. There was a State of the Nation report through the Charter process. And that, of course, is being taken into consideration too. But we are not caught in a time warp. Madam Speaker, we are not caught in a time warp. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, we are not caught in a time warp. Madam Speaker, we are not caught in a time warp. And the population is moving very fast. Demographic changes have even taken place within a span of 7 or 8 years. Population movements have taken place. These are the type of issues that are being addressed to the development plan specifically. The principles of the Charter, the State of the Nation report that was attached to the Charter, of course is all there. Of course it provides the basis for supplementing the development plan. You cannot simply rely, and it would be obtuse. It would be obtuse, and coming from somebody who's got training in economics, would be obtuse to think that only one document, Madam Speaker, that only one document, Madam Speaker, only one document, Madam Speaker.
It's a failed process.
Order. Order. We will continue to hear the same sentence if you continue to interject and not allow the Honourable Minister to complete his answer. Please,
Madam Speaker, if I can recap, it would be obtuse to say that only one document, like the Charter, can be the sole source of information for a development plan. It is not a socialist issue. He needs to, Madam Speaker, he needs to also understand that the countries in this day and age today that are also doing development plans. You are confused, not the public. Not the public. The public is not confused, Madam Speaker. If the public was confused, people would not be attending these meetings, Madam Speaker. They are coming in droves. They need to get out to the grassroots and understand what people want. This is what this process is trying to do, Madam Speaker. And that assumption that development plans are debunked as a concept is not true. Some have debunked, some have accepted it, some have still are continuing with it. But it is critical, Madam Speaker, given our history, it is critical that we as a nation have a vision. I'm talking about a development plan. I'm not talking about political visions. I'm talking about a development plan, economic plan, that the ordinary Fijians want to know. Our development partners want to know what our priorities, so that when they come and assist us, they say, okay, these people have got this, they want to put more child hospitals. This is where we'll go and assist them. That's what it does, Madam Speaker. It creates a new level of transparency also in infrastructure development. So people are able to plan. The private sector is also able to plan. That's what it addresses, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will now give the floor to the Honourable William Ngawuka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In my province, Madam Speaker, on a number of occasions, government delegations have arrived and the villagers had no interest in the meeting. It was embarrassing for the Turanikoro to go round up the people to come to the meetings, Madam Speaker, because they say All these things have been said in the Tikina Council. The Tikina Council, Madam Speaker, right now, they say they're talking to a wall since the regime came into power. Can the government just use the structure that is in place with the Itoke community, use the Tikina Council, and then the Provincial Council, and take its guidance from there, Madam Speaker? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister and Attorney General.
Madam Speaker, as I said, that these meetings actually goes down to the grassroots level. There are many people, for example, who do not necessarily attend all the meetings through the Tikina councils and the provincial council meetings. We're hearing directly from the people. As you also know, Madam Speaker, we're hearing directly from villages. We've gone out to villages, Madam Speaker, and where ordinary villagers are able to speak directly to the government officials, not through some third, fourth parties. Madam Speaker, as I said earlier on, to suggest that there's only one source of information would be silly. We are trying to now ascertain and get as much feedback directly from the people. We are getting from the provincial councils, we are getting from the NGOs, we are getting from other various interest groups, we're getting from the rural advisory councils. Everybody's contributing. And as you know, Madam Speaker, the more information we are able to get, and in particular the information that is the best, that is hearing directly from people's mouths, will actually help us to develop a development plan. And so there's a sense of ownership and a sense of stakeholdership. I accept the Honourable Member. He did not say whether it was during these consultations where people are saying they weren't heard previously, but I accept the fact that perhaps in the past people may not have been heard. Issues may have been sent up. But times have changed. The issues will be dealt differently, and we're hearing directly from the people. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now give the floor to the Honourable Moses Yambolitavu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Attorney General for his answers this morning in regards to a 5-year term and a 20-year term development plan. I think from his answers this morning, he has failed to reveal, although he slightly said that development partners, that these kind of plans are like business plans. You take it to banks, IMF, World Bank, European Union, and other agencies to target their programs, UNDP and other relevant agencies. These are the questions that are coming from the people. Where are the money that is to fund this development plan, which the consultation team is not really driving to the people? The people are asking, where are going to get the money from? Is this something for you to go and get more loan from someone? People need to know this. And those people, they really need to know. It's transparency about the plan. And secondly, the second issue,
Thank you. You're allowed only one issue. I will now give the floor to the Honourable Minister and Attorney General to reply to that question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I love Honourable Litavu's questions. They're always cloaked in conspiracy. Always some sinister move going on behind the scenes. And I was watching too many movies. Madam Speaker, the money is every year the budget is presented, which has infrastructure plans. They weren't here. That's right. Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you. I was just coming to that. They weren't here last year, Madam Speaker. And in that, the development plan, Madam Speaker, helps us to prioritize. Because if you go and talk to anybody that does not have a Tahsil road leading to where they live, they'll say, we want a Tahsil road. But we also are trying to explain to them that if you build a Tahsil road, that'll cost you about $50 million or $30 million, and it's only going to serve, say, one village in particular. Maybe the development priority is something more different that could be done on a lot cheaper basis or inexpensive. The development priority may be transportation. Maybe across the river we can give boats. Maybe the priority is they need access to clean drinking water first. They need electricity first, so they can chill their vegetables or chill their fish. This is the type of prioritization that takes place. When we are talking about development partners, Madam Speaker, we don't talk about only lending institutions. You have AusAid, you have New Zealand Aid. They need to be able to come and work with government. Look at our development plan and say, okay, we want to, for example, they may have a parcel of fund, not a loan, but a grant that they may want to use for the South Pacific. If they're going to compare a country that actually has set out its development priorities and a country that has not, guess who they will give the money to? The one that has got the development priorities set out in a very clear, transparent manner. That's precisely what we are doing. That's precisely the purpose of this development plan. That is the answer.
Thank you. Since the issue is of national interest, I will allow further questions, and I will give the floor to the Honourable Mr. Karawaki.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Attorney General for his answers. Part of the answers, Madam Speaker, was that this development plan is the basis or the platform to provide to a major extent to the support of the rights provided in these constitutions. To me, Madam Speaker, that is like a music to the ears of the people. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, if the Honourable Attorney General can explain that although the Constitution provides for those rights to be taken care of by the government, it also provides that if anybody wants to take the government to court to enforce those rights, it's simply the government would go to court and stand up and say, we don't have the resources. That is a sour note, Madam Speaker. That is a sour note. If I may enlighten Madam Speaker.
Please, can we
Madam Speaker.
Can you ask the question, please?
Is that clear, Madam Speaker, the question I've asked?
No, not clear.
For the Honourable Attorney General to explain, how can simple citizens enforce their rights in court for these rights, the rights that are provided in this Constitution, the rights to housing, the rights to education, when on the other side the government has no money, will simply stand and say, your case cannot proceed because there is no money in the government.
Thank you. The question
Thank you, Madam
is clear.
Speaker.
I give the floor to the Honourable Minister and Attorney General.
Speaker, I invite Honourable Karawaki to actually have a conversation with me afterwards, because for me to actually sit here and explain case law regarding the development of jurisprudence pertaining to socio-economic rights is quite vast. Now, Madam Speaker, might help you listen. Madam Speaker, the section that the Honourable Karawaki is referring to is, for example, a right to food and water. It says the proviso is that in applying any right under the section, if the state claims it does not have the resources to implement the right, it is the responsibility of the state to show that the resources are not available. So the burden of proof, Madam Speaker, 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 is on the state. So it involves a direct assessment of whether the state, what the state is claiming is true or not. That is the principle. There's a case called Subramani. There's a case called Grutenbaum. You can go to South African jurisprudence and look at that, where people were claiming the right to medical services. They took the state to court. People were claiming the right to housing, and where they took the state to court. And it would be very interesting reading, Honourable Karawaki, that if you can look at how the courts dealt with this particular issue. So, for example, Madam Speaker, so for example, if somebody claims that under the right to health, that they need a kidney dialysis machine. So in this particular case, this Subramani lived in a remote part, where in the healthcare center, there was no kidney dialysis machine. So he said that the state is not fulfilling my right, but not giving me the kidney dialysis machine. The state's argument was, because the kidney dialysis machine is so expensive, we cannot have a kidney dialysis machine in all the health centers and all the hospitals throughout South Africa. Because what that will mean Well, that will mean, because they've got limited resources, we won't be able to provide perhaps medicine. So it's a balancing of rights. Ultimately, what the court had decided from memory, and I stand to be corrected in terms of the outcome of it, was that the state had an obligation to take Mr. Subramani and give him access to a kidney dialysis machine, but not necessarily to have the kidney dialysis machine in every health care center. That's how it balances the rights. Socioeconomic rights is about balancing the rights, because resources are limited. So, Madam Speaker, the fact is that Mr. Subramani needed to have access to kidney dialysis machine. He could be taken to one, but not necessarily the kidney dialysis machine brought to this healthcare center where there may be very few people. That could have deprived people of medicine where there may be lots of other people living. So that's how it's done. So it's not simply a question of standing up in court and saying we don't have the money. It is the responsibility of the state to show why it did not put it there in the first place. So it is direct assessment of the allocation of state resources. This is why these rights are so powerful. That's why these rights are so powerful. In some jurisdictions, these types of rights aren't even justiciable. They're there basically to look good, but they're not enforceable. So that is the difference, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And I give the floor to the Honourable Salwathiran Rundru.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I thank the Honourable Minister for his explanation on the National Development Plan. And I note that he said that there had been...
Please, can you ask the question?
That there had been no development plan for the past years. If that is the case, then what is the roadmap for sustainable socio-economic development, which ministries had taken as the National Development Plan and in which they had prepared their annual corporate plan and strategic plan? And that's also reflected in this book, which forms the basis of the 2015 budget.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Minister and Attorney General.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for the question. The People's Charter led to the creation of the National Strategic Plan that the Honourable Prime Minister launched in 2009. The National Strategic Plan, which is what the Honourable Member is referring to, did provide the basis for government's objectives. What we are saying now, Madam Speaker, is that now we need to get into the more direct specifics, hear more directly from the public. We need to have a development plan that sets out the roadmap in terms of specific development per se, regarding infrastructure, etc., by hearing directly from the people of Fiji. I think, Madam Speaker, the reality is that the members of the opposition are getting very worried about it and dealing in a very political manner is because they don't like the fact that we are going out and talking to members of the public. They don't like the fact, Madam Speaker, that we'll be having all these meetings and hearing from members of the public. That, I think, is the crux of the issue, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The last supplementary question allowable, I will ask the Ratu Selananogo to ask his question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the Honourable Minister for the explanation given so far. And also I would like to thank him for their team has already taken that consultation on the island of Kandau. As he has mentioned that out of those meetings in Kandau, about 75 people did attend, which they registered in the meeting books or whatever. And based on the plans for Kandau, I could see that they only carry out this exercise in 3 main centers in Kandau. If they had done that on those 3 main centers, surely the number should be around 200 people and above. Because all those people will converge.
Please, Honourable
one is the number that he quoted, which I don't agree on, because of the limited area that they convene this meeting on. Secondly, on the outcome of those meetings, the people have come back to me and saying that they are more frustrated than what they had before, because all the same things that have been highlighting to the village meeting, to the Tikina meeting, to the provincial council meeting, and to the provincial development board meeting are coming up again. Where do they stand?
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I think the issue has already been addressed. The fact that a lot of information had gone through the Tikina, and I will not allow that question to be answered further.